Hello everyone, and welcome to another J. Robinson Art painting video. Today, our peel-off project is going to be a little bit of a surprise. Now, the name of the painting is Caring Hands. It's one of those paintings that's very random, so you get to choose not only the background, colors, and how it's going to look, and whether it's going to be splatters or stripes or whatever, but you also get to choose how to design and paint the actual peel-off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reveal it, show you what the image looks like, talk about the equipment that we have set up and some additional equipment that you might want to use, and then we're going to get started. So here we have our 8x10 canvas with our peel-off on it. Off to the side I have a paper towel. I like to just keep it folded, keep it right here. I provided a plastic apron. We have a small detail brush, flat. We have our spatula. Off to the side, we have our cup of water. And right to my right of my canvas, I have my palette sheet, which is the glossy side is where I want to put my paints. And I have my paint packets. In the paint packets, we have a green, a pink, a purple, a yellow, an orange, and a white. I'm going to take the yellow and the purple and move them off to the side. I'm going to take these four colors and I'm going to squeeze out just a little bit so we can get started. So I'm just going to squeeze out just a small amount of green. Over here I'm going to mix a small amount of orange. Then I'm going to take and put out a small amount of pink. And I'm also going to put out just a smidget of white, just in case I want to change some of the values of the colors that's going to make up primarily my background. Now the yellow and the purple, I'm going to use them to design my actual peel-off. But I want to squeeze out just a little bit of yellow to introduce it to the background. And I'd like to squeeze out just a little bit of purple. Without giving too much away, half of my project is going to be one color, the other half is going to be another. But here we go. I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to pick up some pink. Now I'm just going to splatter some color, because I want to just keep randomly adding color around my canvas. Some of it is going to touch each other and blend slightly. Maybe we create another color with it. But I'm just going to try and put a lot of one color all over. So this way, when I start to add the other colors, I can kill all of these spots. Without cleaning the brush, maybe I'll pick up a little bit of orange and just start dabbing some of that around. Now this is where you get to be free. This is where you do not have to design your background as I am designing mine. You could actually take and make stripes. You can make swirls. You can make a bunch of tiny colored hearts. You can make boxes, circles, dots, dashes. Whatever your mind desires. I just want a splattery looking background. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mix a bunch of these colors together. Then I'm going to try and blend them and create a nice little background of color. Now here I'm going to clean off my brush. Wipe it on a paper towel. I like to call it ringing the bell. Just going to wipe it off slightly. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of green. Now see, it doesn't look like much right now, and that's fine because I'm really just trying to put a little bit of color here and a little bit of color there. And then I'm going to start to blend them together. And hopefully I get what my mind conceives in my head as my background. It's just fun. Just having fun. All right. I've introduced that. I'm going to wipe this off. Excuse me. Paper towel. Okay. See what we got here. Let's take a little bit of this yellow. Just going to introduce a little bit of that. Just a little bit here and there. It'll help bring everything together once I get going with the hard painting that I'm going to do. Let's grab a little purple. Now this purple is a very opaque color. Now opaque means that it's kind of transparent. So it's going to take a lot of different layers when I decide to paint my actual image here to actually give me the coloration that I want. Okay, now I'm just going to take the brush and I'm just going to start dancing it around. Let the colors mix. And I'm just trying to get it to blend together. Clean the brush off so I don't make too much mud. Make sure the water's out. I'm just going to take the brush, start dancing it around while the colors are still kind of wet. And where it's not, I'll just add a little color to it. Because now what I want is I want this. This is what I want. See, I just want the strokes now to represent a color blend. Some of it might be light, some of it might be dark. And I make sure I go right around the edge of my peel off. Let the colors just mix together. Now you can be much more controlled and much more solid in your color approach. I'm just deciding to have it just mix, and whatever happens, happens. I'll come back later and play around with other designs on top of this. But for right now, this is really what I'm after. And I'm going to show you what I mean. See how this side is pretty much a solid block of mixed colors. Some of it showing through, some of it mixed together. And over here is still random. So this is what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm trying to take the color, let it blend into itself, and create whatever it wants. And then along with that, I could then add to it and make subtle changes, and I'll show you that in a few moments. Just keep dancing my brush around. Where the color gets dry, I just pick up a little color, and just to have something wet, just to have a little bit of value to keep pushing around and also overlapping the colors. And it doesn't matter to me if one side looks different than the other. The only thing I'm going for is a blockage, getting rid of all of the white. And by just making all of those initial splatters, it's giving me a full range of color so that I could just introduce color and then just get it all to connect to itself. And I'm trying to work somewhat quickly and freely. I'm not trying to have a focused thought. I'm just trying to keep moving so that I could eventually block in, see all of the little white open spaces around my design, especially closest to the edge. Yeah, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. Let's pick up a little bit of this. Introduce some of that here. Darken it up a little bit. Lighten it up a little bit. The idea, again, is to just be free. The one thing I love about art is it allows you to open up your creativity and to just be free. You don't have to be restricted or limited or worry about making what people call mistakes. There was a guy on television, one of the famous artists named Bob Ross, used to always talk about happy accidents. And those are things that occur when you least expect it. And you don't really want to change it. You want the accident to just stand as it is. There's another famous artist who probably would not admit to it, but his paintings were happy accident, and that was Jackson Pollock. His splatter paintings were not intentional at first. It was an accident that he happened to look at and say, wow, I could create a series of paintings like this, kind of abstract, if you will. And he started his little splatter paintings and made a fortune. So you can't tell me a happy accident doesn't work. And I'm sure there's been a numerous amount of artists throughout the years who came across or done things that they initially weren't really trying to do, and then something happened and they said, I bet Picasso is another one who went on a lot of tours all around the world, seeing all kind of art, and formulated a plan to try and create art from all that he had probably came in contact with relating to art, and started decomposing pictures. Okay, here we go. My background is now complete. To me, this is fine, but I want more. So what am I going to do? I'm going to clean off my brush, and I'm going to just grab white, and I'm going to introduce some of that around the canvas, almost the same way I introduced the colors in the beginning. So this way I could kind of get an idea of where those little white spaces or splotches are going to be. Now I know some of you are saying, well, why paint over the white of the canvas if you're only going to put white again? Because there's a huge difference between the background of the canvas and the white paint that I'm applying. So use your own discretion. If you want that to show through, please feel free to do so. I'm just introducing a little bit of a white value in the painting to let it mix like I did before, just touching it as I go along to add to my background. Like it's a bunch of splotches of color. I don't want you to be able to tell where one color stops and the next color begins. Oh, that looks great. I like that. I'm actually going to clean off my brush, just dancing it around like that. And there's my background. I like that. That's good enough for me. Now I'm going to clean off my brush. Now I just want to show you something. In between the peel off is a series of lines. I want them to stay white. So I'm going to take white paint alone, and I'm just going to paint right over all of those open spaces. Again, I don't want dry canvas. I want paint. Just going to come right here, come down to the edge, and wherever I see those openings, I'm going to take white paint alone, even over here, and just paint right over those openings. And this is my painting, so this is what I like to do. You can make this a color. I'm choosing it to be white. Because remember, half of my canvas or my peel off is going to be painted one color, and the other half another color. So in doing so, I want to make sure certain areas stay white for me. There you go. Okay, that's the end of that. Clean off my brush. Make sure I'm happy with what I have. Let me see. This side is going to be purple. This side is going to be yellow. But I still think some purple splotches in the painting might add. So I'm just going to look where I don't have it and just put in a few before I take my peel off. Now the cool thing about peel off is it definitely helps you be creative. But once you remove it, then everything you do around it will have to be very steady-handed. So here right now, while the peel off is still on, I want to make use of the fact that I could tap the brush anywhere and not go into my actual design. Add a little purple over here maybe. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Let me just do the same thing with the yellow too. Let me just add a little bit more yellow. Just a few places. See, you could keep doing this all day long. You could spend hours and hours and hours just going over this. You could put designs in this. You know, you could do all kind of things. All right, I think I'm about done here. Just going to make sure my edges are nice and covered before I peel again. Yep, looking good. And here we go. Now we're going to peel off. Now we're going to see what's the big mystery. Let's see what we got going on here. This should be interesting, to say the least. Okay, here we go. Now for me, there should be a distinct difference in these lines between the white background that's going to be underneath this peel off versus the white paint that I put on it. So let's see. I'm going to take my spatula. I'm going to find a little corner like that. See how I just stuck it right underneath here? Then I'm going to take and very slowly and carefully peel back the peel off at a 90-degree angle. And I think I was right. Very subtly, I see the line, so that's good for me. Again, you may choose to not have painted your lines white. You could have put a color in there. You know, that'll help you visually see where you're going. I see where I'm headed. So I'm just going to take my peel off away. Get this little piece here out. Just like a screw, it's always one that's just too tight. Just gonna keep fingering it till I get it to peel up. There. Okay. Now we're gonna get started. The first color I'm gonna start with is gonna be the yellow. So I'm gonna take some more yellow, squeeze it out on my palette. Right here where the yellow was is fine. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna go ahead and peel off. Let me put out a little bit more purple. There you go, that's good. Just wipe my hands off really quick. Now, I again strongly recommend that you put a color, unless you have very, very good visual eyesight, to see as I see the lines. So here I'm going to take and show you before I start. This is going to be one hand holding another hand. The hand in here is the one I'm going to paint yellow. So I'm going to take some brush on my flat brush. I'm not going to go over the lines, but I'm just going to paint inside them so I can start defining the shape. It may take me several passes to get the color up the way that I want it. But I'm just going to go right in here, and I'm going to very slowly start developing this hand. I know you're saying, what hand? What are you talking about? You'll see. As the picture starts to come to life, so shall the hand. Got a little bit of color there, but I'll fix that later. Just going to go in here. And this is where you want to take your time. I'm just going to bring these colors in, and then I'm going to let this dry for a minute, and I'm going to go back over these colors probably 2 or 3 times. I would suggest you do the same depending on the color choices you're making. You can make your design one solid color. I just want to have some fun. I want mine to be more than one color. Starting to see the hand? There's a couple of fingers. It'll make sense in a second. Now over here, I just got to catch right in here and then just go around what I'm going to call the knuckles of this other hand. Go in here, slide up a little bit. I'm going to go in here, slide up a little bit. And again, make it easy on yourself. If you want to make this one solid color, that'll be fine. But when you paint in your background, make sure you put a different color inside so that your lines will help your viewers see the fingers. That one's purple. I don't know why I did that, but that's okay. I'll cover that up. Let me just keep going. That's good though. Maybe seeing how even I could make a judgment error and still going to continue to paint without stopping or even worrying about it, because I'll fix it later. There. Now that's right there is the first hand to my painting. Now I'm going to pick up purple, and starting back here, I'm going to just fill this in. Now the purple, like I told you, is a very transparent color. You would think that yellow is transparent, but it's not. It's actually more solid than the purple is. The purple is going to take a little buildup. So while we're doing that part, I'm going to just block this in, go off camera, come back, and you'll see the completed project. And trust me, I'm not going off camera to show you or do anything special. It just takes a couple of times going over and over this purple to get it just right. I don't want to bore you while you watch me do it 2 or 3 times. But I'm verbally expressing to you that you may want to consider, if you're using purple as I am, that you be ready to do it over and over till you get it nice and dark the way you're going to see it when the camera comes back on. But for all intent and purpose, I'm just showing you how to approach the project, how to get it started. Making sense? Good. Just going to keep going, even though, again, you're not quite seeing the details yet, but that'll come later. What I have to do is be careful of how I'm separating my white lines, because I don't want to keep going over them and lose them, because they're important. They help show the hands I was referring to. Okay, see, that little line is important. These lines are important. This was important, but now let me just go over this. This whole little yellow nub is actually purple. So while it looks different than the other purple, it won't later. Just gonna cover it and let that dry and build it up. Then I'm gonna go into another circle part like this. See? Easy. Go into another one like this. See, I'm trying to keep them separate. Keep the little bit of a white line in between them. You'll see later what that actually represents. And then I'm going to come over here and do this last one. And then I'm going to talk to you for a second to let it set up. And then I'm going to show you something. And then I'm going to go off camera. Okay, there. Not worried about this one. I'll fix this one as it dries up. Now, what I've established in my little heart hand or caring hand is the whole idea is that it's a heart shape, but it's actually 2 hands clasped together. And while, again, the detail at this current moment isn't that obvious to you, it will be when I go off camera and come back on. And all I'm going to do is repaint my purple, repaint my yellow, maybe repaint my purple again, and see just how strong and distinct it is. Now, excuse me, be right back. Okay, basically what we're going to do now is I'm just going to show you how I went over the colors one more time to allow it to be a little darker and a little richer. Now, I purposely left this particular one open because remember, that was the one I had the little yellow in, and I just went over it a couple of times with some purple. These I've gone over at least 3 times. So I'm going to show you just with this one exactly what that looks like, because that was how the color was when I first applied it. But when you let acrylic paint dry and you go over it and over it, it builds the hue or the tone. See how it's getting darker? Just by a second application. It's not a lot of paint. It's just letting the underpaint dry and just literally painting right on top of it. And that gives it that rich color. And the same is true of the yellow. If you allow the yellow to build a couple of times, by going over it a couple of times, you get a darker value, a richer hue. Now this is true of watercolors, and it's definitely true of acrylic paints because it's a water-based or water-soluble medium. So if you do the same application where you just let the color dry and then go over it, not kind of dry, but literally let it dry. It takes about 2 or 3 minutes, doesn't take a long time. And this way, when you go back over and build and build and build, you then have the color standing up the way you want. You could do the same with the background, but I kind of like it a little bit on the lighter side. You know, I don't want it to be too dark or too rich. You know, I wanted it to be kind of subtle because I wanted the hands to show up. And these are the heart. It's a heart shape. 2 hands holding each other, representing caring. So I call this picture Caring Hands. And I hope you had fun painting it. And I know you're going to enjoy it. Just go for it. A couple of things to remember. I chose to leave my lines white. I would go with an opposite color from whatever you want your heart hands to be. You could make the whole painting red. And if that's the case, maybe you want yellow. Maybe you'll paint yellow over the lines in the opening so that when you peel it off, you can see those distinct lines to know to paint around them with your red. You can make this part red, and it'll still look beautiful. You can make it orange, you can make it pink, but whatever you choose to make your design, even if it's a mixed color, I strongly suggest that you want to paint those lines before you take the peel off with an opposite color. And that's all I got for you today, and I hope you had fun. I enjoyed painting with you. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a like if you like the painting, and come back again to see what else we have going on. Because at Peiloff, we have a variety of projects to help make art fun, easy, and creative just for you. So you have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.